What's happening, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. My name's Brian Mello with Marty's Buick, GMC, and Chevrolet, and in today's video, we'll be discussing the resurrection of the Chevy SSR. If you're new to the channel, be sure to smash that like button, subscribe if you aren't already. I upload fresh General Motors content every single week, so if that's something that you're into, be sure to tune in. Let's get into it. All right, so let's talk Chevy SSR.
Chevrolets, an American Revolution.
The SSR, which stands for Super Sport Roadster, was a retractable hardtop convertible pickup manufactured by Chevrolet between 2003 and 2006. The late 90s and early 2000s was kind of an interesting time frame for automakers when it came to building these like weird little micro niche vehicles, for instance like the Ford Thunderbird or the Plymouth Prowler. These were vehicles that we would have thought would never leave the drawing board, but of course they did. The SSR was a vehicle AutoEvolution.com said was different for the sake of being different. It's a love it or hate it kind of vehicle, and most people used to have the latter feeling. Now, when the SSR first arrived, it utilized a 5.3-liter 300 horsepower V8, had a 0 to 60 time of 7.7 seconds, and ran or jogged the quarter mile in 15.9 at 86 miles per hour. In 2005, the SSR got an upgrade. It got the 390 horsepower LS2 V8 that was also found in the C6 Corvette, the Trailblazer SS, and the Pontiac GTO. In addition to the new engine, the SSR also finally had the option of a 6-speed manual transmission. But it didn't end there. In its final year for 2006, the SSR's LS2 received some slight modifications that increased its output to 400 horsepower, of course, when equipped with the 6-speed manual. The little Roadster was an interesting retro tribute piece for sure. After all, what other options do you have for a two-door hardtop convertible V8 pickup with a manual? Oh wait, find me one. Someone's going to find me one. Unfortunately, despite all the marketing efforts by General Motors, the SSR just didn't sell all that well. In fact, only about 22,000 SSRs were ever sold, and most of the reasoning behind the poor sales numbers, in my opinion, is probably due to its price point. And the base SSR started around $41,000, which in today's numbers, it equates to about $58,000. That's not exactly cheap by any means. Pair that price up with its really obscure look and, well, bad sales numbers aren't that surprising. But what if the General decided to re-release the SSR as, say, like an anniversary tribute, or perhaps just to stir up some interest online in the form of what would essentially be a really expensive marketing stunt? What would it look like? And, of course, would you buy one? Once again, my good friend and talented artist Oscar Vargas, well known on Instagram as WB Artist 20, decided to reimagine the Chevy SSR and modernize the Super Sport Roadster for 2022. Now, as you can see, Oscar's creation takes the SSR of old and blends it together with a current generation Camaro SS in order to modernize the truck, but still keep it all believable. Now, personally, I was never a big fan of the SSR. I mean, I loved the idea, but I just hated the execution. I thought it looked just far too bubbly, too tame. It was like a muscle truck wearing the wrong outfit to me. And even when aftermarket companies got a hold of it, it still just never really worked for me. This modernized version from Oscar, however, gives a totally different vibe. I mean, the more dramatic flaring in the back gives it much greater presence, and I love that much of the roundness, too, around the top of it has been toned down a lot. It looks just way more like a pickup truck and much less like a Volkswagen Beetle. The Camaro front end with big mesh grille works perfectly in my opinion, and by bringing that front bumper all the way down closer to the ground, it gives the SSR much more of a sport truck or muscle truck look, as opposed to the old SSR that rounded out the bottom of the bumper way too early in my opinion, making the truck look much higher off the ground than it really was. Now, I do think the front end might look a bit better with that crossbar out of the way and remove the Chevy bow tie, but that might be too much grille. We'll have to have Oscar whip that thing up. The headlights on this SSR, believe it or not, are actually modified headlights from a Bentley. But if I never told you that, you'd probably never know, because the LED day runners line up perfectly to this design. It all just looks really factory to me. Pair all this up with a much more aggressive hood design, and I think this truck could be a winner in limited production, of course. Now, if this were to ever happen, I'd hate to say that the chances of it coming with 3 pedals and 8 cylinders under the hood is highly unlikely as GM moves toward the EV future, but hey, we're allowed to dream. Limited production, man. 6.2 V8 stick. Get at me. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on this Chevy SSR design, and of course, answer the question for this series, would you buy one? As always, I'd like to thank you all for watching. If you made it this far in the video, please consider smashing that like button as it really does help me out. Subscribe if you aren't already to stay up to date on all things GM with my weekly uploads. Drop a comment down below to keep the YouTube algorithm gods happy, and I will see you all in the next video. Thanks again. Take care.